Hi, Celine here. Welcome to my channel and a happy new year to you. I wanted to come on at the beginning of the year, 7th of January today, I think, and just talk a little bit about the themes that I feel are showing up and the energies for 2023, and also some thoughts on how to make best use of this time at the beginning of the year and really tune into what you want to create, who you want to be, what sort of gifts do you want to step into in the coming year. And I hope this helps you. I found in the first week it's been a very slow, sort of still inner time of reflection. And I know the beginning of the year is for many of us, particularly this year, as I understand it from the astrology. There are a number of planets in retrograde, which sort of slows down the sort of momentum. Maybe other years kick off more quickly. So I feel there's a lot of movement and internally, but not externally. So what I have found really valuable so far, and I think it's going to be the case for most of the month. Different planets come out of retrograde at different stages, but I think up until close to the end of January, there's sort of a slower start. So it's a good idea, if you can, to sort of take advantage of that. Now, you might have a lot going on and a lot of work you have to do, but as much as possible before the year, the energies really take off. I think it's really good, and I found it for myself, to slow down as much as I can, to ground myself, to do practices like breath work is a practice that I do, getting out in nature, meditation, anything that brings you more deeply into yourself, grounds you, quiets the mind, and allows you sort of hear and tune into what's sort of bubbling up in you, is the way I would say it. It may not be anything clear just yet, but I have found that even in the past week, there's a number of little shoots or that I can sort of feel sort of want to sort of come to life. Now, it's still very early days, so I would just suggest for January, as much as you can, or early January, to really tune in and listen to your own voice, to detach as much as possible from technology and getting too involved and too pulled out into the world. Even to sort of hold off and getting too involved maybe in new collaborations or decisions, very clear decisions that might set you on a path maybe earlier than you're ready. Now, that's always a very personal and individual decision, but that's just my feeling on it, and it's something that I'm feeling very called to do, is just really tune into myself for this time. It's also really good, as I said, that I think the more, as each year passes, I mean, we all know that since 2020, I suppose, we've been really gone into uncharted territory with everything that's been happening in the world. For me, that started back quite a bit earlier. I'd say from 2012, but really from 2016, when I had a diagnosis with breast cancer. That was my world being turned upside down. So it's not that I feel I'm ahead of things, but I sort of feel I've been lucky enough that I've had to sort of resource myself and heal and find tools to help me find my way in the world again. And I think that's sort of where we are now at another collectively. And the sense that I get for 2023, that once it sort of takes off. Now, I mean, there are loads of people you could listen to who talk about the astrology and the energies. A lot what I'm feeling is definitely after January, but particularly March seems to be quite a benchmark month, or an important month, because I've been hearing a lot about this. The planet Pluto, which is in Capricorn, and Pluto's all about rebirth, transformation, regeneration, is moving from Capricorn, which is a very sort of controlled, top-down way of controlling and discipline and structure, into Aquarius, which is all about freedom, equality, sovereignty. And we're getting a taste of that, I think, for about a month, end of March, April, May. And then it goes back into Capricorn. And then from 2024, it is for quite a sustained, could be 20 years, I think, Pluto will stay in Aquarius. So you can sort of sense yourselves, if you do any reading or have any interest in this. I mean, I sort of feel it myself anyways. So, but I love using tools and working with what we have naturally available to us to help us tune into ourselves, our wisdom, our gifts, and, you know, where collectively we are in the world as well, and where the energies are taking us. So that to me suggests, you know, there's going to be a lot happening from March onwards. So it's really important to get yourself as clear on your own first in terms of what you want to create. I have done a separate video recently on, I think, 9 steps to creating your reality. So I'm not going to go into all of that here. If you want, please do go back and take a look at it on my channel. But this is just really more about tuning into the themes and the energies of 2023 and how you can work with them. So as I said, taking time for reflection in January, I think, is really important before you commit to anything. Also, the role of our intuitive voice, it is the most important voice. I feel, you know, the saying, I've said it before, I love that saying, Einstein, the intuitive voice is a sacred gift, and the rational mind a faithful servant. We have created a society that honours the servant and has forgotten the gift. And I think we're shifting hugely, particularly as we move into this age of Aquarius, into a more heart-centered world and way of living, and the guiding voice being our intuitive voice. So the more familiar you can get with this voice, and the more work you can do to really trust it, to really ground into it and really embody it, I think will be just so important in the coming years, because I think there is a lot more, I suppose, as part of a process of regeneration and change and transformation, there's a lot of breakdown as well. I know that from going through cancer. So it's so important to ground yourself and to really listen to you and what is right for you, because the most I suppose a really important aspect of all of this is that we all have a very unique role to play in the world. And I think the shift is really, as I mentioned with Aquarius, sovereignty, coming back into your own unique role that you have to play in the world, and only you can know that. So before we start to look at collaborating and going out into the world, we need to become clear on that, and that'll keep changing. But it's just I would say keep as well the focus on what is born out of love, so coming from a loving place in yourself, a heart-centered place. What is it about service? So what service are you being called to? So whatever voice or gifts are coming to life, it's always about being of service. So, you know, that's another useful sort of measure to look at. And is it bringing you joy? I think there's lots of new gifts are coming online for us. I know they have been for me. So just to be aware of that, there might be certain things that you've been very passionate about or interested in getting off the ground, but also just listen to anything new coming in, or just notice differences in yourself. Like I've noticed different things that I'm interested in. I've definitely in the last few years, nature has become such a huge part of my life when I hardly even noticed it. Animals, you know, I'm feeling a much stronger connection with animals than I did. There's just different things that are really calling to me. So I'm sort of trying to keep myself very open, but really listening to that intuitive voice. And as I said about collaboration, just be discerning around that. I've talked about it before. We're all changing. If you think of what the world is going through and the energy speeding up, and just, you know, looking ahead, there's lots of other things that will be happening, but March really stands out for me, particularly towards the end of March. So everybody else, we're all going through this process and we're all going to be in motion. And I'm really feeling, this calling for, and I've felt it for a long time, to live more in flow, and I do my best to do that. I function the best, and I think we all do, when we're flowing with sort of the rhythms of ourselves, of the universe, of what feels right. When we're working with somebody, you know, does this feel right? Collaborating with this person, and maybe you collaborate with some people on a project, maybe you collaborate with them longer, maybe you don't, maybe you move into something else. So just to really trust that flow and be very discerning about what feels right for you and doesn't feel right for you. It's not a good or a bad or a judgment, it's just really a reflection of where you're at and the role you have to play. And you have a very important role. Every single one of us have, and it can look so different, but that doesn't matter. It's every single person on the planet. We're all part of the whole. We're just aspects of it. Also, grounding this year is going to be hugely important. I keep getting this image of, and it's been very windy here on the west coast of Ireland, of a person nearly standing, holding on to like a big pole, and the wind's blowing them. And that's what I'm getting a sense of for the year ahead, that there's going to be so much change and things coming at us, and maybe certain things breaking down, new things starting, and it's going to be fast. I just feel that. It feels fast already. Even though I've kept myself as still as possible, I can feel things even internally quite quickly. Oh yeah, maybe that's a good thing to do, or, you know, sort of ideas and things moving a lot on me. So whatever you can do, whatever practices, nature, breath work, meditation, you know yourself, I would suggest at the start of the year getting really, as best you can, anchoring yourself in a practice that will support you, and being as present as you can. And that involves continuing. Don't know about you, but for me last year there was huge healing at a very accelerated level. I think it will continue, and I think if we're not doing this work as it presents itself, it's going to come at us harder, because we need to be releasing and clearing any blocks that are going to keep us from really stepping into who we are. And it's just to remember that it's really about us becoming embodied, really completely in our bodies, present, grounded, strong, flexible, and ready to move and be in flow with whatever energies are coming this year, so that we're able to step into our gifts and what we are here to do. So as I said, keep the healing work. I think is going to continue, but just know that it's you know, I've shared some really challenging times last year, and I was aware of them as I was going through them, that they were really important and they were going to be really transformative. Didn't mean that they were easy, but just to try and hold that awareness as well, because this is freeing you up. And the more I've noticed I get, when I start to get caught in my thoughts and in my head, I know it's usually because I don't want to feel something, an energy that just wants to move out of me, to make space for the new. And that is what it is doing. So yeah, I hope 2023 is a great year for you. I feel it's a really, almost like a transitional year in a way. New beginnings, regeneration, as I said, and talking about Pluto going into Aquarius. But the interesting thing, I was just reading as well, or listening to various people, that from 2024, I think January, Pluto goes into Aquarius. I may have said this for, I think, 20 years. So just think of what we're stepping into, and we're getting a taste, an opportunity to taste this from the end of March onwards. And I feel excited about that. That's what I love about astrology, because it's not about saying this is the way your life is going to turn out. It's showing you potentials, and, you know, sort of like, yeah, these are opportunities here that you, and this is how you can work with them to really, really step into your role as a creator, and being, you know, the fullest version of yourself and what you came here to do. So I'm going to leave the video here. I hope you got something from some of my own musings. I just want to finish by asking you a few questions that I hope will maybe trigger some ideas or thoughts for what you want to create and what you want to step into for the year ahead. So the first question is, what do you want to birth in 2023? So are there projects that are ready to be brought out into the world? Maybe something you want to launch, maybe something you've been training in and you are ready to step out into the world and promote yourself. Is there a new business idea? Is there something that you feel this is the year that you're ready to bring it out into the public domain, and just to even, sort of play around and with that and think about it. The second question, what seeds do you want to plant for the year ahead? So there may be projects or ideas or just ways of being, a way you want to live, getting out more in nature, new practices. What new seeds do you want to plant for 2023? And they may or may not come to fruition and be born in 2023, but these are new seeds you want to plant, and see where they might bring you. And as I talked about earlier, I feel the more as time is passing and the more we're sort of growing and evolving on the planet, more gifts and are for each of us are coming online as we grow and are ready. So it's just even to pay attention to that more. What seeds do you want to plant for the year ahead? And then the third point, getting an image of yourself. If you were to sort of feel into, what I like to do sometimes is I almost can see a version or picture a version of me in front of me, looking at me. And it's like the next version, or an image of that person who has birthed these projects or is planting these seeds. What do they look like? So rather than getting into specifics, what do they look like? Where are they? What are they doing? So to really feel into that. And even with different options, you might have different various different projects or things that are coming to mind, and it's a good exercise. Maybe feel into each of them. Like one of them could be, let's say you're very talented at art and at painting, and one option might be, God, I've been thinking about, I'd love to be an art teacher, as an example. So even just to sort of sit and really visualize you, that person, what that's like, getting up in the morning, what would you be doing, interacting with the students, what would that life feel like? Really feel into it more than think about it. Another option might be, no, I want to work, on my own, for myself, creatively. I just want to be at home and paint, and I want to have a studio. That's just an example. What would that life be like? Feel into it. What would it be like every day? Every aspect of it. It could be down to the income that you'd earn, to what you do with it, to so just feeling into different possibilities depending on your sort of the seeds that you want to plant, and the things the projects that you want to birth. How does it make you feel? So like I was saying there, how does each of those options make you feel? One might be, oh my God, no, I feel very fearful. That doesn't really work for me. I couldn't work that many hours, or I wouldn't earn enough money, or no, I wouldn't feel I'm making a contribution in the way that I want to, or I want to work more. I like my alone time. That would involve too much time with others. So you can go to guess where I'm what I'm suggesting with that is just giving the time to feel into it rather than just have a list of goals written down. And then another point, number 4 or 5, I like numbering them, is point number 5 is just thinking about how is this contributing or being of service to humanity or the collective. How is it of being of service to myself, and your growth and what you're here to do, and how is it serving the collective or humanity? Because really everything and what we are here to do is to be of service to uplifting and the evolution of humanity. That's how I sort of see it. So is it doing that or contributing to that? And then, just as a final point, to keep refining that, by staying present. I mentioned that earlier, trying to stay as present as possible in your life, because you're going to keep getting more nudges, more intuitive hits that are going to sort of realign you if you're going off track. I found that often in the past where sometimes I'm too impulsively, I might get a nudge about something and I go off in a direction and I'm tunnel visioned, and then I'm hitting roadblocks and I don't know why. And it's because I didn't really, it's an ongoing process. It's not you listen and then off you go. So it's sort of listening, acting. That's the co-creative process. And that's how we keep refining and are fluid and in flow, and we move more easily with life, and we move more easily with the energies and what we're creating and what we're stepping into. So I'll leave you there. I wish you really well during this time of year in January, this sort of incubation period, and as much as you can to take the time that you need so you really set your course and your path, while being flexible for the year ahead. So until the next time, thank you for watching. And if you haven't already and you do like my content, I'd really appreciate you liking and subscribing to the channel. Take care.